Good evening, everybody. This is irishoorah. Sorry it's been a while since I loaded my last video. Um, it's been a couple of videos since I said this, so I wanted to make a statement again that there's no copyright infringement intended, and that I am not the author. This is, again, The Voyage of the Great Titanic, the diary of Margaret and Brady. The author is, just a minute here. The author is Ellen Emerson White, and I am not Ellen Emerson White, I am Ura. So the last place we left off was where Margaret and Mrs. Carstairs and Sister Catherine were having lunch and discussing her voyage to America. That was Friday, March 29th, 1912, and we're going to start tonight. I think I might actually read 2 chapters tonight instead of just 1. So we'll be starting with Saturday, March 30th. Here we go. Saturday, the 30th of March, 1912. St. Abernathy's Orphanage for Girls, Whitechapel. I simply cannot sleep tonight. Earlier I wrote to William to tell him the wonderful news, and Sister Mary Gregoria is to post a letter in the morning. I feel very lucky, and yet also very frightened. I have grown used to my life here, and am not sure I'm ready for so many changes all at once. Mrs. Carstairs and I are to sail for America 10 days hence on a ship called the RMS Titanic. RMS means Royal Mail Steamer. Sister Catherine told me later. Before we left the hotel, Mrs. Carstairs gave me all the details of our upcoming journey and what she will expect from me. Mainly, I gather, I am to be polite and agreeable and fetch and carry and otherwise help out with whatever she needs at any given point in time. I assured her that I would have no problem complying with these rules, although I am afraid of her loud tone. Afraid her loud tones will grate on me. Naturally, I did not share this concern. Mrs. Carstairs is terribly excited about being aboard this particular ship, as it is the Titanic's maiden voyage, and she is supposed to be the finest ocean liner in the world, as well as the largest ever built. I know nothing of ships, and see no reason to doubt her. I gather Mr. and Mrs. Carstairs have been sailing the Atlantic for many years, and have been on all of the great liners, including the Titanic's sister ship, the Olympic. Originally, they were to make this trip together. Along with Mr. Carstairs, one assumes, faithful manservant. Hence they had reserved 2 cabins on the ship, but now Mr. Carstairs has been detained here in the city on business, and so will rejoin his wife in a month or 2. Their daughter, it turns out, has only just given birth to their first grandchild, a boy named Theodore, and Mrs. Carstairs wants to see him as soon as possible. Mr. Carstairs did not want her to travel by herself, which is why they decided to seek out a companion. I am still not quite sure how this fortunate assignment came my way. I believe there may have been an advertisement, but an East-Ending acquaintance of the Carstairs may have brought St. Abernathy's to their attention. Now and again, with a desire to do good works, fancy London ladies come to this neighborhood to tutor poor urchins and otherwise provide enrichment and counsel to the destitute. The ladies call this East-Ending, and sometimes, less politely, slumming. Most of their charitable time is given to the better-known missions and settlement houses, like Toynbee Hall, but every so often they come across our small orphanage too. I suppose there are some who are awed by and overcome with gratitude for these earnest, well-to-do ladies, but I tend not to be among them. Somehow I have never fancied being the object of pity. And yet, in many ways, I suppose our situation is rather pitiful. The nuns have limited funds, and we are always overcrowded. Right now there are at least 20 other girls sleeping here in the tiny dormitory, 1 of 3 in the orphanage, and it can be very loud. The room can barely hold 10 beds, so we have makeshift double bunks. Nora, who is only 5, sleeps below me. I know she would rather have the upper bunk, but she is often troubled by nightmares, and I fear she would fall out and hurt herself. There's a window just above my bunk, and when sleep will not come, I like to look out at the lively streets below. Whitechapel is never still, and there are always people to see. There's a public house round the corner, and I am particularly fond of listening to the sounds of music and laughter. I was not quite 8 years old when I came here. No, the true story is that William left me here one cold, desperate night some 5 years ago. When my family lived in Wapping, near the river, we were happy. We rented the bottom half of a cottage which had 2 small rooms separated by a muslin curtain. Father worked very hard as a labourer on the London docks. When times were good he helped load cargo, and when work was scarce he would toil as a coal-whipper and come home black with soot. Mummy was frail, but she took in sewing and when she was able. She was consumptive, and I would often wake in the night to her muffled coughing. We worried about her greatly, but in the daylight hours she always had a smile for us. I suppose we were poor, but we never went without food. There was little money to spare, but Father always made sure that Mummy had her tea with sugar, and that William and I had a glass of milk to drink. Once, in a very great while, we would get to feast on fish and chips, all bundled up in the newspaper. I don't know that there is any food I love more than fresh, hot chips. After supper, Mummy would smooth out the newspaper and blot away the worst of the oil so she could read whatever was beneath. I remember her helping me with my letters and numbers, and later we would read together for hours. One icy February afternoon, 3 burly men came to the door, twisting their wool hats in their hands and avoiding Mummy's eyes. A great load of crates had come crashing down on the docks, and although Father was able to push another worker out of the way, he could not save himself. They were sore sorry, the men said, shuffling their boots. Mummy did her best to keep the family together. She began working in the rag trade and was gone from sunrise to sunset, sewing buttons in a hot, airless factory. She grew very thin, and we rarely saw more than a shadow of her old smile. Then early next spring she took ill. A fever raged, and William and I did not know what to do other than make tea and try to feed her digestives. By the time Mr. Harris, who lived down the way, brought a doctor, a grey-faced little man in a black suit, it was too late. These are hard memories, and I will save the rest of the story for another time. Sunday, the 31st of March, 1912, St. Abernathy's Orphanage for Girls, Whitechapel. Today was a quiet day, as Sundays generally are. We go to a very long Mass in the morning, eat a substantial midday meal, and then have free time until our early evening tea. I spent most of the afternoon glancing through A Midsummer Night's Dream and trying not to think too much. I am to return to Claridge's later this week, as Mrs. Carstairs has concerns about my wardrobe and wishes to have me fitted for appropriate clothing. That seems like a frightful waste of time to me, but I have been told not to concern myself with such matters. I gather that neither money nor the lack thereof are problems for the Carstairs. And I will have to quit for right now because I just got a text or an instant message from my sister, and I want to talk to her. So I will continue this very night. I'll continue it in a little while. Have a good night.